Last time, we took an extended look at Robo Arc's main protagonists, which means that now it's time to flip the coin and check out the main antagonists. Who could be the Getter team facing off against this time? What's with all the weird giant bugs? Wait, time travel? And what does any of this have to do with Romance of the Three Kingdoms? You better stay tuned, because today we'll unpack all of that and more. Let us begin with what most people would consider Robo Arc's primary antagonist. I'm talking about none other than the spacefaring nation from 750 years into the future, known simply as the Andromeda Country. Believe it or not, the Andromeda Country made its debut all the way back in the Shin Robo manga, although back then they were simply known as the Invaders. And they really wanted to destroy the Getter Dragon for some reason. We'll open that can of worms later. The point is, the Andromeda Country is back in Robo Arc, and it is more vengeful than ever. But where does this vengeance even come from? Why would an alien species from 750 years into the future hold a grudge against something as seemingly puny and insignificant as the human race? I'm sure glad you asked, because you see, as it turns out, the human race isn't so puny and insignificant in the distant future. On the contrary, thanks to the Getter Emperor, the human race turns into the most ruthless conqueror the outer space has ever seen. In this dystopian future, humanity does nothing but wipe out everything in its path, whether it be entire populations, races, or even planets. As it turns out, one of those planets was the Andromeda Country itself. It makes sense why they would hold such a strong grudge against the Getter now, doesn't it? Ultimately, the remnants of the Andromeda Country fight for their right of survival. However, they know that there's no way they'd stand a chance against the Getter Emperor in its current state. So the only thing they can do is find a way to travel back to the past and eliminate the very source of the Getter race, thus stopping the Emperor before it even has a chance to be born. That's where the story of Robo Arc comes into play. After their initial defeat at the hands of the Shin Robo, the remnants of the Andromeda Country decide to travel all the way back to the time Robo Arc takes place in. Their goal here is to take advantage of the weakened state the Sao Tome Research Institute is in during this time, and launch a full frontal attack, hoping to get rid of the Getter and by extension the Getter race once and for all. However, there is just one teeny tiny element they did not take into account, and that is Takuma. He is the only person who can pilot the Arc to its fullest potential and put an end to the Andromeda Country's reign. Or can he? I'm getting ahead of myself here. We know the Andromeda Country's history and motivation now, but it's about time we get into what it actually is, as well as how it operates. Similar to the Dinosaur Empire, the Andromeda Country functions as a monarchy, ruled by one royal family. But unlike the dinosaurs, most of the Andromeda Country's members resemble humanoid insects. First dinosaurs, now insects. At this rate, the Getter is going to fight the entire ecosystem. What's next? Plants? Oh, wait a moment. Okay, here's where things get a little foggy. The reason I refer to the Andromeda Country's people as members is because it has never been specified whether the Andromeda Country, in its current state, is made out of the remnants of one planet or a bunch of different species of aliens who banded together after their own planets got destroyed. It wouldn't be far-fetched to assume the latter, since we did see the Andromeda Country work together with the Hyakki Empire in the past. I mean, hell, they even went as far as to rebuild Emperor Burai and sent him back to the past to take another crack at fighting the Getter team. Then, in the final volume of Robo Arc, we see that Carter McDonald and the other remnants of the Hyakki Empire have been part of the Andromeda Country the entire time. All of this leads me to believe that the Andromeda Country is the ultimate intergalactic alliance formed for the sole purpose of taking care of the Getter. They aren't too shabby in the technology department either. They got everything from giant robots, gas weapons, cybernetics that can bring back the dead, and, as I mentioned earlier, a means of time travel through something called the Zone. But what even is a zone? Essentially, it's a wormhole with an insanely strong magnetic field. The zone's magnetic field can cause all sorts of anomalies, ranging from sudden lightning storms, as seen in the first chapter of Robo Arc, all the way to severe rifts in the space-time continuum. Supposedly, one of the zones got triggered when a meteorite fell into the Pacific Ocean, which led to the Andromeda Country using it as a golden opportunity to push all of its forces through and invade the Earth. Later on, the Sao Tome Research Institute, in collaboration with the Dinosaur Empire, managed to reverse engineer one of those zones and send the Getter Robo arc together with the Getter Saurus all the way to the future in order to destroy the Andromeda country from its very source. Sometimes you just have to fight fire with fire, you know. We'll get back to this future escapade later. For now, let's run down some of the most notable members of the Andromeda country that we've seen in Getter Robo arc. For starters, we've got General Koumei, whose name and appearance bears a striking resemblance to General Zhuge Liang from the Three Kingdoms era. See, I told you romance of the Three Kingdoms would play a role in all of this. Ken Ishikawa is no stranger to ancient history, so it is safe to assume that he must have been really into Romance of the Three Kingdoms back when he wrote Getter Robo arc. There really isn't anything noteworthy to say about General Koumei, but I thought he was worth mentioning as one of the big faces of the Andromeda country. Second in line, we've got the Insect Queen. She's notable for leading an organized attack against the Sao Tome Research Institute and getting chomped by Getter Robo arc. The last members of the Andromeda country that I'm going to mention are Carter McDonald and his associates who, as I've previously stated, turn out to be remnants of the Hyakki Empire. When you first see them, you think they are just going to be some throwaway characters, but they actually hold the physical and metaphorical keys to the entire final act of the story, so I think they're worth mentioning twice. Listen, I know what you're all here for. I couldn't possibly make a video about Getter Robo arc's villains without addressing the real elephant in the room. Of course, I'm talking about none other than the Dinosaur Empire, led by Emperor Gore III, who once again used its slimy tactics to betray the Sao Tome Research Institute and... Did you seriously fall for that? It's Kamui. Kamui is an interesting case study. He is a man who is literally trapped between two worlds, being unable to find a sense of belonging in either of them. Both the Sao Tome Research Institute and the Dinosaur Empire see him as nothing but a valuable chess piece, a means to achieve their respective ends. Neither the humans nor the dinosaurs have ever treated him as one of their own. Takuma is straight up freaked out by his appearance, while his own brother Emperor Gore III does nothing but blackmail him. Kamui's mother is the only person who sees him for what he really is. She is the only one who offers him the sense of belonging he so desperately craves. Kamui doesn't care whether the humans or the dinosaurs come out on top, as long as he gets to live a peaceful life alongside his mother. Or well, it used to be like this before everything went so terribly wrong. Remember the Getter team's little trip to the future that I mentioned earlier? This is where it becomes relevant. It was this trip that changed Kamui's perspective on humanity as a whole. After being subjected to the Getter Emperor's unrelenting rampage, Kamui grows disgusted with what humanity has become. He slowly starts to understand where the Andromeda country is coming from, as he sees the Getter army's complete disregard for other forms of life. What pushes him over the edge, however, is none other than good old Carter McDemon over here. He's the one who hands him the blueprints to what would become the greatest anti-Getter machine the world has ever seen. I'm talking about the Bug. Kamui clings onto this opportunity, and as soon as he gets back to the past, he uses it to finally overthrow his asshole brother and take control of the Dinosaur Empire. All of this culminates in one final life-or-death showdown between Takuma piloting the Getter Robo arc and Kamui now piloting the finished version of the terrifying Bug. Both of them are being pushed to their absolute limit. This is a clash between two species, two unstoppable machines, and two ideologies. Has humanity earned its right to live, or does it deserve to perish? That is something only time will tell. Something I can tell you nonetheless is what the deal with this elusive Bug actually is. The Bug made its very first appearance way before Getter Robo arc in a manga titled Satan Wharf Leader Bug, which was a collaboration between Ken Ishikawa and another author. Here is where things get confusing. In the manga, the name Bug is used in reference to both the pilot and the machine itself. The robots are also called Seiken, but the manga kept switching between calling them Bug and Seiken, so it didn't make things any better. Semantics aside, what actually is this manga? Oh, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's good and you should totally read it. But seriously now, this manga is basically one extremely long kick-ass fight scene between various Bug pilots. It's like a highlight reel of how many cool things Ken Ishikawa can draw in one single manga. There are some interesting things going on with the story as well, but I mean, come on, the huge sword-wielding robot is what you're really here for. Anyway, there is one very specific reason I brought up this manga, besides its name. The notorious BUG that shows up at the end of Get a Robo arc has the very same design as one of the bug robots in this manga. My guess is that Ken Ishikawa grew attached to the design and he wanted to incorporate it into Get a Robo somehow. All's well that ends well, right? Wrong. This is the part where we put our tinfoil hats on and start speculating. We don't actually know how strong the Get a Robo arc's bug is, or even what its combat capabilities are. That doesn't mean I can try to predict how strong it is based on what we've seen in the Flitterbug manga. Remember that all of this is just speculation at the end of the day, so do take it with a pinch of salt, or maybe a spoonful of salt, whatever works for you. Alright, as I previously mentioned, Get a Robo arc's bug is based on Sigma Seiken, a bug with the ability to manipulate wind. This is the only known ability that is specific to Sigma Seiken, so now we'll look over the things that all bug machines are capable of. One of the greatest strengths of any bug machine, at least in my opinion, is its ability to manifest the pilot's thoughts. There is a good example of this in Volume 2 when the main character uses his bug to summon a giant-ass katana. Think about how overpowered this ability is for a second. What if, instead of a katana, you decided to manifest a weapon of mass destruction? We don't know if there are any limits to this manifestation ability, so for all intents and purposes, I'll let your imaginations run wild as to how far you can take it. Let's jump into the real juicy stuff now. In Volume 1 of the Flitterbug manga, one character says that in the right hands, the bug can create a new world. Then, in the second volume, we find out that a single bug was capable of destroying the moon. These things really aren't messing around. I hope you kept that line about creating a new world in mind, because the big reveal of the Flitterbug manga is that the bugs were these godlike entities who kept creating and destroying the world over and over, because they were dissatisfied with it. You have to admit, it makes a lot more sense now as to why Ken Ishikawa chose the bug to be the Getter's greatest enemy. Hear me out for a second. Get a Robo's main theme is that of evolution, of always pushing forward, no matter how scary and painful it is. The bug is the complete opposite of that idea, thinking that by hitting the reset button over and over it might achieve different results. The Get a Robo and the bug represent two completely antithetic ideologies. Do you choose to grow from your mistakes and look towards the future, or do you do the same thing until you get it right and keep being stuck in the past? This is what I've concluded to be the final thematic thread of Get a Robo arc's narrative. Oh yeah, the bug also shows up in the Hien chapter of the Get a Robo anthology, where it almost completely massacres the Get a Robo Hien, but I'm leaning towards counting that as non-canon. At the very least, non-canon to the mainline Get a Robo universe. There is something all these antagonists have in common. They are all fairly sympathetic, and well, if Get a Robo arc's depiction of the future is anything to go by, that makes the Getter Emperor, no, humanity itself, the real villain of this story. You could say humanity led to its own doom. I guess the moral of the story is, don't trust anyone, not even yourself. What do you guys think? Is the Andromeda country justified in its pilgrimage to get rid of the Getter race? What about Kamui and his self-appointed mission to wipe out all of humanity? Please let me know in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, you might be interested in knowing there's a whole bunch more where this came from, as part of this little event I'm doing called the Get a Robo Arc Week. All of the other videos will be on my channel as well as in a playlist down in the description. Give them a look if they look like something you'd enjoy. That's all of me for now. I'll see you next time.
You're fucking kidding me. Goddamn morons. You're fucking kidding me! Goddamn morons! Who the fuck do you think you are? You're gonna remake it cause it ain't ideal. It's corrupted, so you'll destroy it. You've got your arbitrary fucking reasons. So you think you can destroy it? Easy as that? We ain't roaches. Don't you know how much bloodshed and struggle it's taken humanity to get this far? Besides, this world is where all the friends I love are. I like this corrupt world. The fool. It seems it was indeed a mistake letting him ride the Seikun.